Good morning, everybody. When was the last time you went to church and saw beer and cigarettes in the altar? No tipping, please. I've got a little story for you today. There are people who are spiritually starving to death, who hunger and thirst out there. And I'd like to share with you a little story about two characters that have come together for 1 week's time. Two personalities coming together. We start off by the fact that we have a grocery cart here, so this takes place in a grocery store. A busy grocery store. There's a gentleman getting out of his beautiful red Corvette that's got less than 100 miles on it, who's walking cocky and confident, almost arrogant, who's a self-made man. Or someone would think. Because this man, on the outside, appeared to be successful, powerful, but on the inside, he was weak. He was hurting, he was in pain, he was frightened. His name was Paul. Paul walked into the grocery store one day to get his supplies, beer and cigarettes. For you see, Paul had lost his job, and Paul's family had asked him to leave because he had become so angry and difficult to manage, and so depressed and so obnoxious, he was on his own, and he was checking into a hotel where he was going to drink his beer and smoke his cigarettes and be sad and be angry and wallow in his darkness. So he went into the grocery store and got his supplies and went to the express lane. And when he approached the express lane, he looked up and there was a bag boy there who was just smiling too much, way too happy. His name was Gideon. Gideon was kind of a funny kid. His legs were mismatched, he limped, he had real thick glasses, he was painfully thin and painfully happy as far as Paul was concerned. And when Paul pulled up the supplies to the register, he looked at this little guy, and the little guy walked up with his arms open and said, "Hello! It's so good to see you! Let's have a hug." Which is probably the worst thing could have happened to Paul that day. So he kind of gave the obligatory pat on the back and looked at the cashier and she said, "Don't you pick on Gideon, he's my hero." He thought that was a strange thing for her to say. So he grabbed his supplies, was going to leave, and Gideon said, No, I have to be with you all the time, every day, all the time. And he began to push the cart for him, and so Paul shrugged his shoulders and said, "Fine." And as he watched the little guy going out, he scraped cars with the cart. He was clumsy. He was a terrible bag boy, but he laughed all the way. He was talking to himself like he might have Tourette's or something, and he would just shout out things, and he was laughing and talking to someone who was not there. And this went on every day. This strange grouping, this pairing in the parking lot. The casual observer would say, "Look at that big, strong man and that crippled little guy. So sad. Why?" And yet, they got it wrong. For you see, the little guy, in his joy, was talking to God all the time, shouting out in joy, smiling, encouraging. And the big, strong man next to him was caving in. The walls were caving in, like shards of glass cracking. This world was crashing down and burning. Each day he got grouchier, more obnoxious, and at night he'd drink all night and wallow in it because he was contemplating ending this pain. He just wanted to end the pain. Because up to this point in time, he was able to manage his life all by himself, he thought. Everything that he got in life was because of him, and his gifts and his talents. And the world was crashing, and he went back for more beer. And there was Gideon, always waiting for him. And he tried to avoid him. He went to different registers, and magically this kid would appear and annoy him. And he watched him sometimes putting eggs and potato chips in the bottom and cans on top of that, and then milk, and smashing the groceries, but giving people hugs and smiling and laughing. And he grudgingly let the little guy take his groceries out. He started to bark things at him like, "Mark 8, Matthew 11. That's the truth. It's almost your birthday." He said, "You're nuts. You're insane. Leave me alone." One day when they were walking through the parking lot, a truck went by, and Paul grabbed the little bag boy and pulled him back. He almost got run over. And the little guy smiled and gave him a hug and said, "Thank you." Hebrews 13:2. Hebrews 13:2. do what he thought he had to do. He was alone. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was quite drunk. And as he reached for what he was going to do, in his hands, in a shaking moment, he knocked everything over around him. He knocked over the side table, then he knocked over the lamp, and then he heard that. He put the light back on, and with his shaking hands, he picked it up, and it was a Bible, and it said, Gideon. Gideon. And he thought to himself, even now, you crazy little guy, even now you're bothering me. Then he began to think. And he looked down the floor and looked at the book, and he saw a little pin that had fallen out. And the little pin was in the shape of an angel. He didn't understand, but he thought, Hebrews 13:2, what is that? He actually opened up the Bible for the first time in his life. And he looked at it because he just got this curiosity, this hunger to know what that meant. And he read, and it said, be aware of whom you entertain, because you may have entertained an angel. He began to sob. The walls inside of his heart, the cold walls that kept everybody out, opened up. And he thought, could it be? Could this be real? Could this actually have been God talking to me? He shook all over him. He dropped the weapon, and he picked up the Bible again. And he said, what was that crazy little guy always saying to me? Mark. Who's Mark? Mark 11, no, Mark 8. And he pulled out the Bible and he read, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? And now he was weeping and crying and shaking. He knew that God was talking to him. Spent the rest of the night reading through this book until he came to this. That little guy said, Matthew 11. He read all through Matthew until he came to what the little guy was talking about. Come to me, all of you who are labored and heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden light. My dear friends, that was the night that Paul came to Christ. That was his birthday that Gideon had talked about. His birthday. Paul read all night long, and he ordered coffee from the front desk, and he got himself together, and he shaved and showered. He was excited now because he wanted to go back to that grocery store. He wanted to find that little guy. He wanted to hug him back and thank him for saving his life. He jumped out of his car and he ran into the grocery store, and as he ran inside, in his peripheral vision, he saw something unusual, and it was all the shopping carts lined up with white balloons, just like this. And all the cashiers were crying, particularly the one in the express lane who had told him to leave Gideon alone. That Gideon was her hero. He ran to her and said, where is he? Where's Gideon? I got to tell him what happened. I'm okay. And she looked at him in tears, and she put her arm around him, and she said, Gideon's gone. He's gone to the Lord. He's not here. And Paul didn't know what that meant, but he fell to the floor in a crumpled mess, and she comforted him. And he said, I just want to thank the little guy. I understand now. He's special. And then he looked at her uniform, and she was wearing a little angel pin, just like the one that he had in his pocket. And he grabbed her hand, and he looked, and her wrist had some scars on it. And Paul looked at her, and he said, you too? She said, I told you he's my hero. Why am I telling you this? Hebrews 13:2. We don't know if we've already met an angel in our life. We don't know. But I'm asking you this. Actually, I'm begging you. In your life, when you leave this building and you go out into the world again, and you meet people in the grocery store, in the mall, wherever you go, be Gideon. There are people around you who are starving spiritually, dying of thirst spiritually, and you don't know what's going on in their heart. Be aware, be fruitful, be representative of God. Gideon did. You can too.